Hola, my friends, y bienvenidos, mis amigos. My name is Crypto Alex USA with blockchain strategies and mining. And today we'll be discussing two of my favorite tools, which is cryptocalc and Whatomine. We'll be discussing the different GPUs, what the profitability is for both AMD and nvidia. So once you get to cryptocalc, the first page that comes up is this one here, where it shows the model and the hash rate. You can put your different model of whatever GPU you have, whatever combination on the NVIDIA GPU, just like any other one. But the interesting thing is you don't have to press enter. You just put, let's say you have 1660s, and instantly you scroll down and it starts showing you all different coins and the profitability per day. Also keep in mind, this doesn't take in consideration power, so you're going to have to do your calculations for the power. You could also do this by hash rate, where if you know the algorithm, you put your hash rate. Let's say, for instance, on ETC hash or ET hash, sorry, you have a RX 580 at 30 mega hash, it'll be making 184 before power, probably more like 150, maybe 160. So you could also, my favorite part of this to cryptocalc is the GPU profitability ranking. This goes by GPU, so when you're shopping for a GPU, it shows you all the different GPUs starting from the most profitable, which is the 3090, all the way to the least profitable, like we all know, the 1050 Ti. I mean, the 1050 Ti's are making 69 cents a day from Ravencoin, probably with taking away electric, probably another 19 cents, it'll be 50 cents, which is, I'm sure, for the OGs that were mining back 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, sometimes our profitability was only about 69 cents or 70 cents on Ethereum back then. So everything's probably pretty much profitable right now. It's just it's a matter of electric and space. So what I like to do here is let's go over the NVIDIA 3090. One of the things about this card, it does do 120 mega hash, but it does pull a huge amount of power. They're huge, they're heavy, they don't have much space between them if you put them on a mining rig. I'm not really fond of these cards. I've already installed these for customers. They suggested, they wanted them. I suggested to get something better like a 3080 for the best bang for the buck, but they didn't. They want 3090s, which is fine. They did have 220 connections, which is a big deal. That's what you need for these, because if you try to run these on a 110 connection, once you're running 4 or 5, they're going to pop the breakers, especially if it's a 15 amp, 120, or even a 20 amp, 220, which is the max 2,200 watts. Then you're good. You know you're going to be popping that breaker or pushing it to the limits, which you don't want to do. Also on the 3080, this one I think has the best bang for the buck. I mean, if you look at these prices, they're not accurate. These are the prices when they came out, MSRP. I mean, there's no way you're gonna find a 3080 for $820. Otherwise, I'd be buying them all day long. They don't have them. These are running brand new, probably about 24, 25, maybe 23, and then used anywhere between 2,000 and 23. I haven't seen any under 2,000. Very rare, even used. The 3080, I have seen them for about 1,500 used. That's a good buy, especially making that kind of profit. You're talking about you get your capital back pretty quickly compared to the other ones. But anyways, so on the 3080, I do like these. They do 98 mega hash. They're cheaper. They also use less power. They run less heat. But these are probably, of the NVIDIAs, one of my favorites, other than maybe the 3060 Ti. That's not limited. Doesn't have the limitations, but that's another thing. If you buy one of those, you got to be careful, because if not, you'll be mining Ethereum instead of in the 60s or 50s, whatever it mines, supposed to mine, that it's supposed to do 60 mega hash. It actually does half of that, maybe 32. So you got to be careful with that. The 3080 Ti is pretty new. I don't know too much about that. I've never dealt with one of these. I really can't determine what it does, but to do 60 mega hash, even, oh, one thing, you could click on these and get the other mega hashes like it does on ET hash, sorry, 64 mega hash. So now you have an idea what it does compared to other cards. It's here, it just gives you what's the most profitable, which is Ravencoin at the time. So on ET hash, you click on it, it gives you 64 mega hashes. If you look here on Ethereumclassic, it gives you 277, and Ethereum is not even listed. So this is not a very good card for a memory-intensive algorithm like Ethereum, Ethereumclassic. More for Ravencoin, which is a GPU core intensive. A lot of these Ravencoins, I usually run the memory clocks lower than the than the Ethereum. And on Ethereum, a lot of us just run those memory clocks to minus 502 because it doesn't really use much of the GPU. So one of my favorite is the AMD Radeon 7s. Even though these do have some problems where probably 1 out of 10 get RMA'd, they do have warranties. You can send them back. They are great cards. They're thin. They don't run hot, but they do 100 mega hash if you're using Team Red Miner with the special special drivers that they supply, and using either Simple Miner or Hive OS with the settings to work with these at 100 mega hash. They do work at 100 mega hash, 98, 97, 99, and they run cool. So I really like these cards. I have a few of these, and I bought these at 550. I mean, they're 1,000. Probably could pick them up used probably for about 1,400 now. Those, I think, by hands down, is the best bang for the buck for any card. But be aware to make sure you get those with warranty. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with a dead weight. Don't get the AMD one, which is if it's just AMD alone, they only have 1 year warranty if it comes straight from AMD. But if it comes from something like I don't know, MSI, if they have them, I don't know if they do. I know XFX does. What's the other one? There's some other ones I just can't think of the top of my head that do have 3 year warranty. So take a look at that. The 6900s, they don't have any really use for when it comes to mining. They're not very profitable. You're talking about 999. They don't go for that. You'll be mining Pharaoh, which used to be Zcoin, if that's what you like. But if you want to see what it does as far as Ethereum, look, I mean, ETC hash is the same as a 3080. Actually, a 3070 probably. And just slightly better than the RX 5700, which I like. So, I mean, if that's what you want, that's fine. I don't know how much power they use. Probably comparable to the 6700s, which is roughly like 130 watts if you undervolt them. The Vegas, I really never owned any of these, but I know these are older technologies, probably more nanometers, probably 12 to 14 nanometers, I'm not sure. But they use a lot of power. I really don't like those, so I don't really touch those. The 6800 is another one that really is not as profitable. I mean, you're talking about doing 63 mega hashes, and you're paying much more premium than a 5700. These 5700, you could probably pick them up now for about 600, 700, while these are still running in the thousands, like 1,012, 1,200. So it's not worth it to get an extra 9 mega hash, and you have to pay almost double the price. Not worth it. The 28 Ti, I had one of these before. They did pretty good. They do run hot, use a lot of electric. So I didn't pay $1,466. I think I bought it for something like $1,000. So you can buy these used. They're pretty good cards for gaming and for mining. Not bad. I don't remember what I mined with it at the time. I believe it was Raven Coin. Yes, that's what I probably mined, Raven Coin, because it was most profitable, or maybe even Ethereum. I don't remember. But again, it's not a card that you should be paying 1,000 over for mining to get 57 mega hash when you could buy 5700s or even buy a couple of RX 580s if you have the space. The 3070, I've never had one of these. Actually, I did have one of these, but I sold it right away. Didn't even open the packaging. So, but I've seen videos on these. These are pretty good too as well. 60 mega hash if you get it for the right price. The 3060 Ti's, I mean, hands down, were the best cards when they first came out. That was the price back then. The RX 5700s, that's what I was buying at the time. I was getting the Sapphires, which are the best cards, for like $400, which you don't see them anymore. So then that would put this right in the price range where I paid these. Hands down, either this, which is the RX 5700, the 3060 Ti, the 3080, and the Radeon 7s are the top 4 of my picks. And the RX 580 series, which is the 5 series and 4 series, are my top 5 picks for any bang for the buck cards. That's just my opinion. The 5700 series, 3060 Ti's, you got to make sure you don't get the ones that are newer with the limiter. They limit you to, since the mega hash is 60, it's not. It's really like 30, 32. You definitely don't want that. You can mine other algorithms that are not Ethereum. It's just on Ethereum, if I'm not mistaken. So if you were to click on 3060 Ti, you can do Raven Coin and get that amount. But still, it's not terrible. But it's just, I don't like getting cards that are limited. There are people trying to crack that now. I'm sure that'll happen, but we'll see. The 5700, it's hands down one of the best cards that I own. Don't buy the MSI mechs unless you want really to take them apart and make sure they're in a cool location, because the mechs, the MSI mechs, are terrible at cooling. If you open one up, which I have, they have very little thermal paste, and the thermal pads are only like half on the chip to save money, I guess. But I would say the MSI mechs are the worst, and the Sapphire Pulse are one of the best. So that's what I own, quite a bit of the 5700 Pulse, and I actually own quite a bit of the mechs, not knowing. Back then I bought them for like 400 a piece, so I can't complain. They're cheap, but they're running 102, 104, 106 degrees, and they're not running at their full potential, because no matter what, you got the ambient temperature that just keeps them hot at the location where I keep them. So the 2080, I'm not really too familiar with that, and the 3060, I've never owned one. I really can't go over that. I've owned several 1080 Ti's, which back in the day were the top dogs. I remember back a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, when they were not, the RX 580s were blowing these out of the water to mine Ethereum, and then you know, they came out with the Oh God F pill that brought these up to like 54, 55 mega hash, which were incredible. So I remember I had a rig of about 18, 20 of these, and I put it onto the Oh God F enlargement pill, and they were mining away. Unfortunately, it also pulled a lot more power and blew my power supply, which I didn't realize, so I had to replace it, and I started mining from there. But it did pull a lot of power. 6700s aren't worth it. Again, the 5700s are faster than the 6700s, which doesn't make sense. If you notice, here's a 6700, here's a 5700, and this is actually more expensive. They're not great, but I wouldn't buy these at all. The 5600 XTs, I own these, and these are great cards if you get them for the right price. I mean, if they were at $279, I'd buy them all day long, because they're mine more than the RX 580. RX 580 top is 33. These are running 43, and with a little tweaking, actually 40 out of the box, a little tweaking, get 43, and they run great. I really like them. So I'm looking for more of these. The 27s, 2070s, I've never owned any of these. The 2060, I have the regular one, not the super. It did 31 mega hash, but again, unless you can get this, you always got to use your rule of thumb, a 5700 XT or 5700 XT or not XT, and a RX 580 as kind of what you want to gauge it against. Those are the two staple cards that we like, and also, of course, the Radeon 7. So when you compare this, okay, I want to buy 1660 Ti and it does 31. RX 580s are selling now between 300 and 400. Today, they were selling even for more before. If I can't buy this for 300 or 400, I wouldn't buy it at all. So, you know, it just doesn't make sense. And then, you know, buy them in volume, because what are you going to do? You're going to start mixing cards. It's just a nightmare. The 2070 Ti, I don't know anything about that. I didn't own any of these. I know they were comparable to the 1080s back in the day, but and here's the 1080. I passed by that. I forgot. The 1080s were staple cards also back in the day. They run about 30. They used to run like 44 mega hash. And one thing with NVIDIA's on Ethereum, they run slower and slower over time. These RX 590s are the fat boys. Those are pretty interesting. What I like about those, they do run 34 mega hash. They run cool, but they're also a little bit pricier. People think they're premiums. They're not. If you can get RX 580, 570, 480, 470, which are all very similar, get those instead of the RX 590, which are usually the fat boys. That's for an extra $100, you're going to pay for fat boy to get what, another 1 or 2 mega hash. Not worth it. Let's go to the P104s. This is the P series, which is a P102, which is comparable to 1080 Ti. The P106, which is comparable to 1080 or 1070 Ti, and the P106, which is comparable to like a 1060. These cards, some of them come with 3 GB, and some come already with 6 GB. Keep a note, the P102 are 4 GB that can be flashed to 8. P104 is 3 GB that can get flashed, 4 GB that can get flashed to 8, and the P106s are 3 GB that usually can get flashed to 6. Not all cards can, but these are great mining cards. I like them. So I own some P104s and P106, and they do extremely well. The 1070, I've never really owned any of these. Maybe I've had some TIs, but you know, for mining, they're great. I'm not going to go over the 480 and the 470, 580, and 570. These are like the ones that are like the top notch when it comes to the lower end cards. And I don't know why this says Ergo, that it's more profitable. I'd probably be mining Ethereum if it's an 8 gig, or ETC If it's a 4 gig, I don't know what they're putting here, but if you look at the 580, same thing with 470, I don't get it. But anyways, if it mines exactly like a 580 and 570, I'd rather go this route. And this is actually a little lower, should be higher. It should be 31 to 32. The 1060s, they're okay, but they're not really worth it unless you're buying it for like 200 and you want to do it in huge volume. And the 1650 and 1050 guys, I never really owned them. Now, these all show the profitability of what the cards are. They're great because you can click on them and they'll give you all the hash rates and all the different algorithms and what it is per day. That way you can make a decision on which one you want. But they don't include power. So you want to go to Whatomine, and on Whatomine, let's say for instance, you have 8 580s on an 8 card rig. Let's put it 6, which is a standard. Then, and you also want to put how much power, kilowatt power. Let's say it's 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You click on calculate, and it will give you the algorithm and what's the most profitable. Obviously, Ethereum is the most profitable. Then will come, I don't really like Nice Hash. Those aren't really accurate. Then you have Raven Coin. I'm not familiar with other Lycos. I never used that. And Ethereumclassic. So you use first here to find out when you go shopping. So you're shopping, all you do is, you go through here and click on GPU mining profitability ranking. Look at your card, and also, always use it compared to the 3080, the Radeon 7, the Radeon 5700s, and then of course the RX 580s. That's the 4 you want to be comparing to, you're talking about super high end. Then you're talking about here high end. Then you're talking about the 5700, which would be like a medium end, which will be here, and then your low ends would be the 590s, 480s, 470, 580s, and 570s. Well, that's it. I hope you like my content. So use these 2 tools to determine when you're buying, and I'll talk to you in the next one.